Hey everyone, this is a video for your study guide that you have for homework on Monday night, due tomorrow. I expect you guys to have tomorrow when you walk into class done. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the problems for you. As you know, you already have the answers on the back of each page, but I'm going to go through the work for you. I'm going to go kind of fast. I'm going to try to get this video done in under 5 minutes so you don't have to be watching so much. So starting with number 1 is an evaluating expressions problem. Now, we're given that x is equal to -3 and that y is equal to 9. And the first problem reads that we have 6x plus 9y, and we have to evaluate that expression. Evaluate just means to solve. And this 6x, well, 6x is the same thing as saying 6 times x. So I want you to remember that 6x, because there's no sign in between, is the same thing as saying 6 times x. We've seen this before when we've looked at numbers that are in parentheses next to one another. For example, we read this as 3 times 3. It's kind of the same thing. It's like that 6 and the x don't have anything in between each other, and so that's read as 6 times x. And then, of course, this 9y would be read as 9 times y. Now, 6x, if we were to substitute in for x, we'd have x is equal to -3 plus 9y, and y is equal to 9. So 6x is the same thing as 6 times -3 because x is equal to -3. And then 9y is the same thing as 9 times 9 because 9 is equal to y. Y is equal to 9. So 6 times -3, that would be -18, plus 9 times 9, which is 81. So I have to do those multiplication before I start any addition because of PEMDAS. And I'm going to do my multiplication before any additions. And then now I just have -18 plus 81, which would give me 53. So because they're different signs, I'm going to subtract the numbers. 81 minus, oh, I'm sorry, that would give me 63. My apologies. So that would give me 63. And because they're different signs, so I'm going to subtract the numbers, and then I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 81. So notice I made a mistake there, but I double checked my work and noticed that it seemed kind of odd. And so 63 would be the correct answer. Make sure you're always double checking your work. Everybody makes mistakes. Now for 2, same thing, x is going to be equal to -3 and y is equal to 9. So here we have that x is -3 to the power of 3 over y is 9. Remember that over is the same thing as divide, so we're going to be dividing in this case. Now -3 to the power of 3 we're going to do first because PEMDAS tells us to do exponents before we do any division. -3 to the power of 3, this exponent tells us how many times we're going to multiply the base by itself. So this is -3 times -3 times -3. Now we have an odd number of negatives because there we have 3 negatives, meaning that our answer is going to be negative. These two could cancel out, but this last one over here doesn't have anything to cancel out with, so it's going to stay in our answer. And 3 times 3 is 9, times another 3 is 27. So it's going to be -27. Divided by 9, and -27 divided by 9, still no other negative for this negative to cancel out with, so it's going to be -3. Okay, so that's the answer for the first 2 problems. Let's go ahead and move over to adding decimals. We've got -19 and 345 thousandths plus 6 and 3/10. So we have different signs, so we're going to subtract the numbers. I'm going to subtract the bigger number, the smaller number from the bigger number. So I'm going to put 19,345 here. And then I'm going to line up the decimals and then the place values. My ones place lined up with my ones place, and then my tenths place is lined up with my tenths place. I'm ready to subtract. Whenever you're subtracting, make sure you put the bigger number up top. 5 minus 0 is 5, 4 minus 0 is 4, 3 minus 3 is 0, 9 minus 6 is 3, and then 1 minus 0 is 1. And then my bigger number is negative, so I'm going to keep that negative sign. So my answer is -13 and 45 thousandths. Go ahead and rewatch that if you need to. That's the beauty about YouTube, is that you can rewatch any parts that you're not understanding. If you need me to go over it again, you can just rewind. Here I have -2 and 57 hundredths plus -3 and 49 hundredths. Same signs, add the numbers. So 2 and 57 hundredths plus 3 and 49 hundredths. 7 plus 9 is 16, add the 1. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus the 1 makes it 10, put a 0, bring the 1 up. 3 plus 2 is 5, and the 1 is 6 and 6 hundredths. And don't forget, this is addition, so our negatives would not cancel out, it would stay in the answer. So my answer is -6 and 6 hundredths. Now we're already past that 5-minute mark, so it is what it is. We're still gonna try to do as fast as possible for you. Okay, so I had done the first one on the paper for you. It's pretty sloppy, but in the notes here in the directions, it says, remember, if a number is an integer, or if the numbers in a integer add up to a multiple of 3, then the number can be divided by 3. For example, 186, 1 plus 8 plus 6, the numbers in 186 equal 15. So that means that 186 can be divided by 3. Now the same thing goes for number 1. 1 plus 7 plus 1, the numbers in 171 add up to 9. 9 is a multiple of 3. And so for that reason, 171 can be divided by 3. So 171 can be divided by 3. Let's figure out how many times. 3 goes into 17 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Remainder of 2, drop down to 1. 3 goes into 21 7 times. And so 3 goes into 171 57 times. And this information is going to come in handy because we're simplifying. And so we're going to be doing our reverse division ladder. And we just said that 3 goes into 171 57 times. Now 540, the 5 plus 4 equals 9, and plus 0 is still 9, which is also a multiple of 3. So that means that 540 can also be divided by 3. Let's figure out how many times. Remainder of 0, drop down to 0. And so it can go into 540 180 times. Now continuing to look at this problem, I've got 57 and 180. Is there a number that goes into 57 and 180? You might be tempted to say no, but let's add the numbers first. 5 plus 7 would equal 12, which is a multiple of 3. And then 1 plus 8 plus 0 equals 9, which is also a multiple of 3. Meaning that 3 is going to be able to go into both of these numbers. 3 goes into 57 19 times. I'll let you do the work for that. And 3 goes into 180 60 times. Is there a number that goes into 19 and 60? Well, one's odd, one's even, so not 2, or then not 5. 1 plus 9 is 10, which is not a multiple of 3, so 3 can't go in there. So it looks like we are at the only number that will go in is 1. 1 and done. 19 over 60. So 19 over 60 is going to be the simplified form of 171 and 540. This one looks a little easier because we have two even numbers, 56 and 128. Whenever we have even numbers, 2 will go into both of them. 2 goes into 56. How many times? Remember, I want to see your work for this. So I'm going to, that's going to be 28. And then 2 goes into 128, 64 times. Both even, so 2 can go into both of those. Into 28 14 times, and into 64 32 times. Still both even. 2 will go into both. 7 and 16. 7 and 16. 7 is a prime number, so only number is going to go into it is 1. And so 1 and done. 7 and 16 is going to be my answer for number 2. And then now 57 and 96. Is there a number that goes into both of those? One's odd, one's even. They don't end in 0 or 5, so I'm going to throw out 2, I'm going to throw out 5. But what about 3? I always check for 3. We're going to add 5 and 7, which is 12. 9 and 6 is 15. Both are multiple of 3's, and so that means that 3 is going to be able to go into both of them. So let's figure out how many times. We did 57 earlier. 3 goes into 57 19 times, and 3 goes into 96 32 times. And then is there a number that will go into 19 and 32? 19, well, that 3 will not go into that because 9 plus 1 is 10. And then 32, 3 will not go into that because 3 plus 2 is 5. They're not both even, so I'm thinking 1. And so that means that my simplified version of this is going to be 19 over 32. So that we're done with those. And now adding fractions. So we've been working on for the last couple of days. First things first, turn both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions. 9 times 6, 54 plus 4, 58 over 9. This one's negative. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 5 makes it 23 negative over 6. And so I've got now two different denominators. So what I need to do is find the least common denominator for both of those. What would be the least common denominator for 9 and 6? Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and write those out. 6, 12, 18, 24, 9, 18. Oh, there we go. 18 is going to be the least common denominator for both of those. And 9 to get to 18, I'm going to need to multiply that by 2. I'm going to multiply the top number by 2 as well. 58 times 2 gives me 106. 6 times 3 will give me 18, so I'm going to take negative 23 and multiply by 3 as well. So it'll give me negative 69. And so now I'm ready to add my numbers. I'm going to go ahead and erase everything else just to make some space. Now I'm ready to add my numerators. 106 plus negative 69, different signs. I'm going to subtract the numbers. 106 minus 69. I'm going to borrow this from this 1 to turn the 0 into a 10. Borrow from that, turns it into a 9, turns the 6 into a 16. 16 minus 9 is 7, 9 minus 6 is 3, nothing left over. So I'm going to have a positive 37. The reason it's positive is because the 106 is bigger than the 69, and the 106 is positive. So my answer is going to be a positive 37 over 18. Always want to make sure you simplify it. 18 can go into 37 2 times with a remainder of 1. Number 2, same process. I'm going to go ahead and 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. It's a negative, so negative 21 over 5, plus 4 times 12 is negative 48, plus 3 is negative 51 over 4. Got to find the same denominator. What would be the least common multiple or least common denominator of 5 and 4? That would be 20. And then 5, we're going to multiply that by 4 to get to 20. So I'm going to multiply negative 21 by 4, which is going to give me negative 84. 4 times 5 gets to 20, so I'm going to multiply the top number by 5 as well. That's going to give me negative 255. Pretty big numbers, but they're both going to be over 20. And so now that I'm done with that part, I can go ahead and I'm ready to add my numerators. That's step 3. I'm ready to add my numerators. I have same sign, so I'm going to add the numbers. 255 plus 84. It's going to give me 339 over 20. And then can 339 simplify? Definitely. But how many times? Let's see. Let's go ahead and divide. 339 over 20. 20 goes into 33 one time with a remainder of 13. Drop down to 9. I'm going to remove this to make space. 20 goes into 139 6 times with a remainder of 19. And then so my answer is going to be a negative. Don't forget that you are adding two negatives. going to be a negative 16 and 19 over 20. So now we're done with all the problems on the front page. Now that was a lot to go through. So we're at the 15-minute mark. Let's go ahead and try to finish up this quiz in just 5 more minutes. Shout out to Lupita in my 5th hour. I'm sorry, not my 5th hour, my 7th hour. I see you're working really hard, and that is going to pay off a lot in the future. I also appreciate just the way you and Edith have your guys' character. You guys seem like really awesome people. So let's go ahead and go through the practice quiz. Just 4 problems here. I'm going to go through it kind of quick. So I've got 3x plus x over x. Now you haven't seen the same variable twice, but you're going to do the same thing we've been doing. Then we're just going to substitute it in there. So I've got 3y, I think I said x, but I meant y. And I'm going to just go ahead and plug in 9 for y, plus x, which is negative 3, over negative 3, which is x. Now PEMDAS is going to tell me to do the multiplication first. So I'm going to do 3 times 9, which is 27. So this is 27. I'm going to drop everything else. Everything else is going to stay the same. Now PEMDAS would tell me to do the division next. But I can't necessarily divide this because this is 27 plus negative 3 over negative 3. I can't divide that yet until I get just a single number up top and a single number on bottom. So I'm going to do the 27 plus negative 3 next. Different signs means subtract the numbers. 27 plus negative 3 is going to give me 24. And now I can put that over negative 3. Now I'm ready to divide. 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. Don't forget the negative sign because there isn't another negative sign for it to cancel out with. So my answer for 1 is negative 8. Number 2, negative 9 and 305 thousandths plus 5 and 100ths. Different signs means I'm going to subtract the numbers. 9 and 305 thousandths. I'm going to subtract 5. I'm going to line up the decimals. And 100th. 5 minus 0 is 5. 0 minus 1, can't do that. Got to borrow from the 3. Turn that 0 to a 10. 10 minus 1, 9. 2 minus 0, 2. 9 minus 5, 4. Don't forget the decimal. My answer is going to be positive or negative. Negative number is bigger. It's going to be a negative 4 and 295 thousandths. Simplify the fraction. 72 and 105. Odd number and an even number. Let's check. Well, it's not 5 because they don't end in 5 and 0. It's not 2 because they're not both even. So let's try 3. 7 plus 2 equals 9. 1 plus 0 plus 5 equals 6. Both are multiples of 3, meaning that 3 is going to go into both of these numbers. Let's find out how many times. I'm going to let you finish that one up yourself. Now, very last one. 7 and 2 over 9 plus negative 8 and 1 over 2. So, first step, turn them both into improper fractions. We want to get rid of those whole numbers. 9 times 7 is 63 plus the 2. I don't know what's going on with my pen. Plus the 2 is going to be 65 over 9. And then negative 8 and 1 over 2. 2 times 8 is going to be 16 plus the 1 gives me 17 over 2 negative. And then now I have to find the least common multiple. I've got 65 over 9 and negative 17 over 2. The least common multiple of 9 and 2 is going to be 18. Because 9 times 2 will equal 18, and 2 times 9 is 18. So I'm going to put both of these fractions over 18. And then 9 times 2 gives me 18, so I'm going to multiply the top by 2, which is going to give me 130. And then 2 times 9 gives me 18, so I'm going to multiply negative 17 by 9 as well, which is going to give me negative 153. That's a 130. And then now I'm ready to add my numerators because I have the same denominator. 130 plus negative 153. Well, different signs means I'm going to subtract the numbers. 153 minus 130. 3 minus 0 is 3, 5 minus 3 is 2, 1 minus 1 is 0. So it's going to be 23, positive or negative. The negative number is bigger, so it's going to be negative 23 over 18. 18 goes into 23 one time with a remainder of 5. It's going to be 5 over 18, and then don't forget the negative. So my answer for the last one is negative 1 and 5 over 18.